All set. So Jeff's going to come up. This is Jeff Odell. Jeff we've known Jeff for years with various things, and some of you will know Jeff, some of you will know Amy, some of you also know Aaron Evans, who's not with us this week. But these guys have been working on a project called Eyes2C. It's a great, great project that's just launched last week. And I'm not going to say much more about it. I'm going to let them tell you. Some of us were out in Texas a few months ago and got to hear a little bit about what God is doing in prophetic and in just gathering some information to be able to make use of what God is saying in some fresh new ways. And so I wanted them to share a little bit about what's going on and hear what they're doing that you can also be a part of. And do I need two mics? If I use another one, you need it. I'll just hand it over to you. You just steal it from him. Amy's good at that, by the way. Just take. Okay. All right. There you go.
Okay. Thank you so much, Michael. And we're really glad to be here. So how many were you at the bridge, the Dallas meeting in December? Drew. Okay. So let me just summarize. Well, that 18-minute clock has not started yet, so I'm going to talk fast. There you go. So God is, I like what Sam said last night. Our job is just to hear God and to do it. It's really simple, but nothing is more difficult in terms of when God really tells us to do something out of our comfort zone. And that's really what he's done. We are, our prophetic part of the church, we learned how to hear God. The art of hearing God 101s is our basic foundational truth from John Paul Jackson. But learning how to interpret dreams is a big part of that. And God kept speaking to me, and I know he's been saying the same with Amy. He said, we've got to take this to the next level. We have to do this in a way which is relevant, not just for the prophetic part of the church, but relevant to all of the church. And not just all the church, all people. Not just English-speaking people and not just Western people, but all people. And so we've developed this strategy, and it's come really together. It started maybe a year ago, but really in the last 6 months, in the last 3 months, it has just accelerated in an amazing way. And so I've really come together with Logan Smith from Streams, many of you know him, and Amy. The three of us have been working for the last 78 days, not that I'm counting, and we have created really the first installment of this initiative called Eyes2C. And so it went live last Tuesday, and it's really exciting to see what God is doing. So I do have some slides. Oh, they don't fit very good. So I'm not going to really go through these. I'm just going to say, so bottom line is we're really trying to change the way we hear God. We all hear God ourselves, but I was listening to Michael and Elisa talking about when he dreamt about the intersection of Highway 26 and Highway 20, and he thought, what in the heck is that? And he found it was a location. And yet Alyssa had a dream where she said, oh yeah, we need to go visit the family.
Crummers.
Thank you, Amy. So that whole principle just played out last night is exactly what we're trying to do. We have observed just through our dream interpretation, and Amy has done easily more than 10,000 dreams. I've done maybe 4,000, and we're seeing this pattern where people are seeing dreams and they only see a part, or they prophesy in part. And that's obviously right out of 1 Corinthians 13. We know in part and we prophesy in part. So the whole thesis of Eyes2C is, can we, through collaboration and sharing, put the pieces together? And even Michael speaking yesterday about, we've all, this is a puzzle we're trying to put together, and we each have a piece. So the question is, if we get enough pieces, can we really see and hear God in a new way, in a more comprehensive way? Because just by the collaboration with Michael and Alyssa, they were saying, oh yeah, this is exactly what we're supposed to do, but it came from 2 points, 2 dreams, 2 impressions. So that is what we're trying to do, and we want to do that not with 500 people, not just 10,000 people. We want to do it with a lot of people. And we want to do that in a way.
Sorry, you keep talking. Okay, there we go.
Okay. So one thing we're finding is, doing dreams within our part of the church is, it's well accepted. But our goal is not, that's kind of the easy part, and it's powerful if we can do that ourselves. But what Joel said is that the Holy Spirit is being poured out on all flesh, not just prophetic people, not just believers, but literally all flesh. He said, men and women, young and old, we're going to prophesy, we're going to have visions, we're going to have dreams. And so the key thing is we've got to move outside of the church, move even outside of the prophetic part of the church, and really start to listening, because the Holy Spirit is being poured out, whether they admit it or not. But the problem is, and the problem really is, I think the big challenge and the big opportunity is in the mainstream church. People who love God, they're living for God, but unfortunately they have shunned, or they see prophecy and dreams as taboo. They think, it's kind of scary. I associate these things with New Age or with psychics or psychologists. And really, psychologists in New Age, they've hijacked the prophetic and the dreams in the eyes of other believers. And so we're trying to, how do we address that? How do we break into that? And so we've recognized, so what we're tapping into is that there's a science to this as well. And this is a term coined by Dr. Carl Jung, and he actually did it in 100 years ago, 1916. He called it the collective unconscious. And so they observed that we are all interconnected. And for years, even Sigmund Freud after him said, how is this working? Is this coming through our DNA? How can we possibly be interconnected? It's like, call it ESP, call it intuition, premonitions. There's something that is interconnecting us. And so their belief, all their description is really minus the possibility that there is a God, an active God. And so really it's our, click. So we have this interconnectedness, but it's our hypothesis that to state the obvious, that this interconnectedness actually, click, it's coming from a central source. Click. And that source is Jesus. The Holy Spirit is what. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to show that the collective unconscious is really true. We want to say this to the scientist, to the secularist, to the psychologist, to the government, that this is real. You just missed it because you excluded the possibility that it could be God who is orchestrating these messages to us, to all of us. Do you guys know about collective unconscious? Is this taught in schools still? Anyways, it's really profound stuff, very prevalent within the psychological community. But we think it's real. We're clearly observing this within dreams and prophetic, just like Michael and Alyssa, we're seeing that about the trip to Wyoming. Next. So anyway, so we hear God in many ways. Do you want to do this one?
No, you can go ahead.
Amy is such a good partner, by the way. And I'll tell you, how many know Logan Smith from Streams? So the three of us are probably the most diverse team you can possibly imagine. We are so different, but collectively we have such a rapport. We've only been really working together in earnest for 6 months. And I tell you, it feels like we've worked together for 5 years. Yeah,
Get rid of you.
that's right. And so we're saying that dreams are particularly important because they seem to be more pure in our ability to hear from God. When we have a prophetic word, it comes from our subconscious mind, whereas dreams come from our unconscious mind. And the good thing about that is that dreams come when our defenses are down, and they're not filtered by our belief system, our traditions. So Muslims have dreams about Jesus. So, without their permission, they're dreaming about Jesus because God is revealing himself to them. They see visions of Jesus say, hey, come follow me, or they call him Isa as a prophet. And there's miraculous conversions because God bypasses all of the junk in the Muslim faith and says, no, I'm the real one. And we also see, even among Hindus, Hindus are polytheists. They believe in many, many gods, thousands of gods. And, when God is speaking to them, it's no doubt who it is. Because all of those thousands of God, they're dead. They're not saying much. And so they're all of a sudden, if they start to hear God, they're wondering, this did not come from my own faith. This is coming from the Creator.
We see that too. We're seeing now a huge surge in, it's one thing in the prophetic community because we dream dreams, we understand dreams, and we just expect God to speak to us in dreams, right? But the liturgical, we're just such a small piece of the pie from the liturgical movement. But the great part is dreams and visions will be ushering in the end times. Dreams and visions are being poured out. We're seeing it, if anyone is on my site, Prophetic Dream Symbols and Interpretation page, we've got the largest dream interpretation group. We've got 43,000 people. What does that say? In 3 years, people are dreaming. We have dreams from witches, from New Agers, from a lot of Africans are having dreams, but specifically we're seeing a huge surge with the Muslim community. Of course God's going to speak to them through dreams. Of course they are. And what we believe is not only as prophetic people that we are dreaming collectively, and that's our tagline is discovering our collective wisdom. It's one thing, see, we've been taught God speaks to us through dreams, we act upon that dream, right? But what is God saying collectively to all of us? Is he warning us about terrorist attacks in Paris? Is he warning us about the Supreme Court justice who's killed? I was just last year I was speaking somewhere, and a girl had a dream where there was a child that was murdered in Alabama, and the girl came to her in a dream and said, "This is my killer. This is the person who murdered me." Now, what is she supposed to do with that? Call the FBI? So I had this dream. It's not going to happen, right? They're going to think she's crazy. But what if that person had that dream, and this person had that dream, and now we've got collective intelligence? And so the whole premise behind what we're doing is, what is God saying to us collectively? We've already been studying what is God saying to us. And we see as pastors when, you may have a dream and come tell me, it means, I'm picking it up. Then all of a sudden, randomly, this person has. So as pastors, we're getting that information. Y'all may not put it all together, but we're getting it. Now let's take that to the next level. Let's take that to the next level because we know that the liturgical church is gonna start dreaming. If the Muslims are dreaming, they're gonna start dreaming. And the great part about dreams is God can bypass all their theology, and they will quietly, because I've seen it happen, and y'all have seen it happen, because we've been studying dreams for years and years and years, right? That they will search out somewhere quietly. They won't go to their pastor. They're not going to go to their intercessory prayer group or anything like that, but they're going to search out what that dream means. We're seeing it on Google Analytics. And so when we have our site that won't have a statement of faith because we want to be relevant to the New Agers, the Muslims, bringing their dreams to us and allowing us to interpret those dreams. Yes, we'll be able to interpret the dreams, but what are we doing? We're gathering that collective intelligence because we believe that as a church body, as the bride of Christ, that we hold the key and we hold the answer. We hold the answer to the government. We hold the answer to the medical community, right? We have the answer. And we believe that in the end times, that visions and dreams will be that platform.
Excellent. So now taking it to the next level. So we've laid out 5 phases. The first phase, first of all, we'll share these slides with you if you like. First level is what we did last week, online dream journal or online journal. So you can capture your visions, your dreams, prophetic words, encounters of all different types, and just your notes. If you took notes, you can capture those, and we will put those into our database. The second phase, click.
Private.
Right, and it's all private. It's your private dream journal. You can access it from the internet or from the mobile. It works beautifully on mobile. And
You can wake up and click on record and put it in. You don't even have to type it out. It has the Google, Siri, or whatever your iPhone people call it. But
iPhone like me, Siri, you can just speak into it, or you can be complicated.
iPhones are for creative people. Androids are for people who have real jobs.
No comment. Anyway, the second dream is, okay, so much like Interpret My Dream, which Jim Driscoll did, we're going to do that July 1st. And we are developing this now. We're going to have a whole team of dream interpreters that Amy is organizing now. So we're reaching out to the folks from Interpret My Dream, people who have been through the streams training, people around the world. And this is something that we can do anywhere, anytime, because as people submit their dreams, if you're an interpreter and you're registered with us, you can look at it and say, oh, there's a dream there. I'm gonna work on this one. You can take it off the queue, if you will. And that way we can do it based on your willingness and how much you want to do it. And there'll be a small fee that they'll be paid, and the interpreter will get a part of that fee. So it's something.
Sorry. See, when you get me going. We've had this question several times about charging for dream interpretation. I want to make that clear with all of us that we struggled as a team with that. We sought the Lord on it. We've had, two words on it. And one of the things that the Lord shared with me, and then Jill Evans, the Lord spoke to her too, because she was quite an opponent on it. But God just really spoke to her heart, and it broke on that. And so we all came into agreement. One, we all know that it takes money to run servers and time and, all the other stuff that it takes to build this. Somebody's got to pay Logan, right? So we are charging. And here's the thing, as a prophetic community and as a charismatic community, we're used to not charging. We just expect freely give, freely receive, freely give. But nobody goes and reads Acts that says, give everything you have, right? And take care of the prophet or take care of the... And so we are charging, if I teach you how to interpret dreams, then it's a ministry. If I'm doing it for you, it's a service, right? And so we are paying our dream interpreters. We feel like we want to, it's not per dream, it is a percentage of the time you spend with us. And I know a lot of you have been, we've reached out to you guys to become a dream interpreter or to onboard with us in July, so we can call you up and say, hey, we've got 1,000 dreams and we need help. Can you onboard your team and come and help us interpret? If you would like to be a part of the July 1st launch, please let me know. Please contact me. We need a minimum of 50 people, 50 dream interpreters, because we are looking at, we believe, about 50,000 people at the end of this year signing on.
And we're trying to gear, the system is designed actually for 1 million people at the same time, worldwide. So it's funny, when I was at Streams in December, and I showed some pieces of a prototype that we did, I quoted the movie Jaws when I saw the response, and that was, we need to get a bigger boat. And so this is going to be big, and so we definitely changed gears and really redid that. Third phase is data analytics. So there's another similar dream site online called Dreams Cloud, and they receive between 2,500 and 3,500 dreams per day in that site all around the world. It's a secular. And so there's some level of interpretation done, but if there's that many people who are dreaming and they're that prolific, we want to be, if we have interpretation that's godly, that it resonates, it's life-giving, then we want to be ready to be able to process that many dreams before. Come on, Amy.
So, Dreams Cloud is kind of when we do our market research, when we launch, we did our market research, and Dreams Cloud is kind of our competitor, only they're a non-Christian site. So we submitted a dream, I won't tell you the dream, but we submitted a dream because we wanted to know what the theory that they were using. And we're amongst family, so I can say this. So it was a dream, it was more of a sexual nature. And we know that sex doesn't always mean sex in a dream, right? It can mean agreement, covenant, alignment. And so I was interested in how that they were going to come back with that dream. And when they came back with the dream, it was that I have a sexual attraction to my best friend. And I thought, this is what's going out. This is what is going out to the world when they seek, what is God saying to me? If that doesn't scare you, I don't know what does. And so when we realized that they've got that Carl, and because Jungian, it's all sexual in nature, right? So it's hitting on that where the enemy's attacking everyone in a sexual manner. Anyway, we see child molestation, we see human trafficking, right? And now that's what's being released into the world. That's scary. And so we're looking for champions. We're looking for champions to come on board as intercessors, as dream interpreters, because we want to be those people, that 3,000 people a day. People are dreaming, and they are seeking us out. But we've got to get out there too. We've got to be that. And they raised $2 million, I think, $2 million on their first venture capital round to get going, and that's scary. So we've got to have all the prayer that we can, because we want to be that front runner so that we can release the word of God and destiny in their life, right?
So if the world's that desperate and that's all they're getting is some dry, academic response, what are they going to do when they get life, when they really understand the dreams? They're going to say, aha, it's going to create a demand, and we've got to really be able to mobilize. So let me just say, I see the clock, we're doing this out of obedience, for one, but we also believe this whole thing about the fourth row, we believe that there's some incredible people, not just believers, not just in the prophetic church, who are hearing amazing words, and they have no one to tell. They don't know who do they share it with. What if they're not in a church, or they're living in a remote area? We want to collect that information, and then using technology, data science, we're going to put that all together and really see that God is speaking to us. And there's so many good things. Just to know what God is saying is it's profound. And think about the credibility that will come to the prophetic part of the church. We need that credibility. We need to be our part of the church needs to be unified and galvanized. And this is what we do. So we're trying to become who God destined us to be as part of this initiative.
We think that too, for our other slide here on Watch of the Wise, we have, it's noisy. The internet's noisy, right? We get prophetic words after prophetic word after prophetic word, and nobody knows who to listen to anymore. And so what we want to do is collect all those published prophetic words and house them in our site, and then have a team, House of the Wise, that are insulated from all that noise and be able to properly weigh those words and keep track of whose words are coming to pass. Who said Sarah Palin was going to be president when she ran, right? Who's coming to pass? Whose words, and testing those words, right? Not testing the prophet, testing the words, right? To see, so that we know that there's some authority there, that there's accountability for all the noise that's going on out there, so we know who to listen to.
And the last phase is multicultural. So already it's designed worldwide, and we have designed it such that we can do dreams in 30 different languages. So we're recruiting people who are non-English speakers because, again, it's going out to all flesh, and we are really trying to prepare ourselves. We're designing this from the very beginning, and we want to do a multicultural understanding of prophetic dreams and visions, encounters. So a lot more to share, but I wanted to just give you a heads up that this is happening, and it's worse. The response that we're seeing, huge from, it's like an obvious thing in the prophetic church. We're using some very sophisticated technologies, data science, even using technology that was used to play Jeopardy in 2011, the Watson technology, to really help us read these things and find all the things that we can't. It'll answer the questions we don't even know to ask. It'll find patterns, and they'll say, "Oh, did you know it looks like something's about to happen in Brussels?" And it'll show you why. And so we can't really read 3,000 dreams a day, but the system can read them and help us understand where are the spikes, where are the patterns. Okay? Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, we will. I wanted to get Jeff up before the first break and before lunch because Jeff has to fly back out later today. He has a full-time job in addition to developing this program, and so Amy's going to be here with us, but Jeff has to leave. So I want him up here before the break and the lunch, so you get a chance. Please take advantage of the first break this morning, which we're about to take, and the lunchtime to spend some time with Jeff, ask questions, talk to him about what's going on. And anybody have anything specific, just a quick question or two you needed covered now, or catch him at a break? Yes.
So the question is, have we considered taking the results of this, the patterns, and giving this to law enforcement, and I'll broaden that to say government leaders, church leaders, and military. And so that's exactly what the purpose of the House of the Watch and the Wise, it was conceived by the late Bob Jones 10 years ago. It's exactly that, to say, what if we see this information that's really critical, what do we do with it? How do we share it? Do we just pray over it, or do we communicate it? And so we absolutely have done that. In fact, the very genesis of this project was conceived in 2005. It was a research project for the military, and I participated in that. And that's where it all started, is actually from the way of coalescing military intelligence using the prophetic.
You need to know in this, I want to make a couple of points for you here just so you understand my feeling and why I asked Jeff and Amy to share this here at Patria, and those of you watching. There's a couple things that are important for you to hear. Number one, individually, for the most part, none of us will ever be likely to have a voice that is heard and listened to by government, military, law enforcement, etc. However, there were men of renown in days past who had the ear of kings. There will be some of those in these days, not discounting them. But if we can take a collective voice to the king is much more likely to hear the collective proven voice than he is to hear the individual voice. If you don't know, I hope you do, because I bet most of you experienced it. Before 9/11, thousands of dreams that gave detail and specifics of what was taking place were had across the world, and nobody had a clue what to do with them. You could not have a clue, still submit the dream into this setting or the prophetic word into this setting, and the analytical component of the computer processes will pull out the patterns and say, pay attention to this. And then someone in the house of the watchful is able to say, oh, the computer pointed this out, but we now discern from having stopped and seen it, which we might not have seen otherwise. We now discern something the Lord is saying, and here it is. And that's powerful. That's amazing, folks. It's taking advantage of technology to accomplish something for the kingdom instead of letting the enemy continue to beat us over the head with it. That's what it boils down to. Now, the second thing I want to say, because I want to support Jeff and the team on this, there are lots of questions about charging in ministry. Lots of questions about it. I want to make something very clear. I am an adamant opponent to charging for prophetic words and dream interpretation. That's who I am. That is not what this is. This is a marketplace ministry designed to have a component of cost to it. That is different from you as a pastor or you as an itinerant ministry just saying, now you need to pay me for this. It's a completely different concept. So I want you to understand why I can stand with these guys and say there's absolutely nothing wrong with what they're doing, and stand with, some folks even here locally in town who say, send me $50 and I'll send you a prophetic word. They're different things in my mind. I want you to understand the distinction. If this minister wants to go and say, I'm beginning a marketplace ministry, there's a charge for this, this is what I do, it is the business, and here's why it has relevance and why it has a significance and why it requires a generation of income, fine. But don't just tell me I charge you $50 for every prophetic word. Okay, you get the difference? Do you understand the difference there? It's a subtle difference, but in my mind, it's a very, very significant difference. If you have questions about that, don't just say, I don't like that. Talk to Amy, talk to Jeff, talk to me, because I don't know all of their system, but I do know the difference in how I see it, and I'll be glad to walk you through that of why we see it in a little different way, because that's a very important thing, and it's an important thing to distinguish for you in that. Now, I will tell you, and I'll tell them right here in front of you, if they veer from that path of the marketplace model and begin to be giving the appearance of charging for ministry, I'll be the first one to tell them you've blown it, and I'll be the first one to tell you not to use it. I'm serious. I mean it, because if we don't carry that level of accountability, then we can't venture into those areas that are difficult to discern but must come to pass to reach the kind of people we want to reach and the world that we want to reach. Very important, okay? We're going to give you a break. That'll give you a chance to talk to Jeff, ask some questions. I'm sure he doesn't mind you gathering up around him and asking some or whatever. Talk to Amy. We're going to take about a 20-minute break. I know what that means. I do understand 20 minutes is never really 20 minutes. So we're going to take about a 20-minute break and get started back by no later than 11 o'clock. We'll have to take about an hour before lunch to go through the next phase of things. So take some time, get some more coffee, visit fellowship, ask Jeff questions. We'll get kicked off back in here about 5 till 11.